So today we are going to start modernist India and hope you will enjoy. So I'm starting with the British Crown took over the administration in 1600, then towards 1815-7. This record help historian trace every important development and you will never read everything, like these all things are kind of publishers and bibliography, memories, travel accounts. So this all things are not for reading. Now next, like from national historiographic approach, Marxist approach, so they are subaltern approach. So these are some approaches how to read the history. So first of all, colonial approach. What was the colonial approach? There was a orientalist, okay, and the opinion that the British brought unity to India, a notion of social Darwinism. India viewed as a stagnant society and required guidance from British white man's burden theory, establishments of Britannica to bring law and order and peace to bickering the society. It was the colonial approach. Now, nationalist approach was what? There was R.C. Dutt, K.T. Telang, Gokhale, Dadabhai Nauroji, Vacha. So they was like nationalist leader. And Nehru, Patabi Sitaramaya, Majumdar, Tarachand, noted nationalist historian and modern. They was like quite against the colonial rule. Okay, and they were known about the exploitative nature of the colonial rule. Next is Marxist approach. So Marxist approach was the Rajni Dutt, India Today, A.R. Desai, Social Background of Indian Nationalism, originality written for the famous Left Book Club in England, and India Today. They was like A.R. Desai, Social Background of Indian Nationalism, and Imperialist Colonial Approach. The Marxist historian clearly see the primary contradiction between the interest of colonial master as well as the process of nation in the making. So the nationalists, they also take full notes of inner contradiction between the different sections. So Ajni Palm, that was the primary anti-imperialist contradiction, and the secondary inner contradiction, anti-imperialist struggle. So they tend to see the national movement as a structured bourgeois movement, if not the bourgeois movement, and miss it open-ended. So Marxist historian was R.P. Dutt and version of Marxist class approach. So he looked at the nationalist leader and kind of proxy of yet passive social forces. Now next is subaltern approach. This school of thoughts began in the early 1980 and its editorship of Rajni Dutt Gua, Ranaji Gua. So it's a subaltern and historiography had analytist bias for the subaltern contradiction in Indian society, colonial approach between the elites and both Indian and foreign on the one hand. So subaltern is, they do not subscribe to Marxist theory of the nature, but they was against the exploitative nature of national movement, and they put out that Indian society of the time could not be seen in terms of class alone, and school sees nationalism as exploitative terms of caste, gender, religion, creed, division, nationalism. So there was like society as well as what marginalized represents or had to say. They believed that the Indian people were never united in a common anti-imperialist struggle. So they asserted there were two distinct movements, like anti-imperialist extreme and second was the nationalist movement, and elite stream was there for the official leadership. Okay, so National Congress was little more than a chalk for the struggle. Now communist approach. Communist approach was what? It's a historiography of medieval India and colonial era textbook. So they was mutually different and antagonist to each other, like Hindu and Muslim. So that's why not only reflected the writing of historian but also took the virtue and hands of communal political leaders. So Muslim Hindu Muslim conflict, we can represent what are the prouds, happiness, and class, sad, humiliating memories, kind of things was there. Hatred among the groups, resulting the communal riots, partition of India. Cambridge School was like fundamental contradiction, and the colonial rule was not between the imperialistic and Indian people. So, struggle of the Indian people against colonial exploitation, and was inspired by the material benefit. This approach has been criticized by many scholars. Okay, it was animal politics. It's Cambridge school. Next is liberal and neoliberal interpretation. Neoliberal or colonial word and capital investment in overseeing the market and actually discourage the domestic investment, delayed and development new industry in the Britain is proponent of this school. Feminist is a feminist which provided two context and impetus for the emergence of women and women history broadened and assumed more complex shape of gender history. So women to supplement the writing of mainstream history. So that's why research and compile an archive of analysis of way in the colonial struggle. So women vulnerability and like a high caste Hindu woman, Pandita Ramabai, Mother India, Catherine Mayo, these all. Colonial approach was influenced by the colonial ideology and it focused on the criticism of indigenous society, culture and praised the Western culture values. But James Mill, Vincent Smith was the there. Nationalist approach, there was a Asu Majumdar, Tara Chand belongs to the school and it's the colonial approach ke against me like medieval period Indian history and next Marxist approach was the between the interest of the colonial masters and the native subjects. So here was the contradiction R.P. Dutt and A.R. Desai. Subaltern is like it's a tradition. Indian historiography has a elitist bias and role of common masses. Communalist was Hindu Muslim ideology. Cambridge is like it's envisages Indian nationalism as a product of conflict among the Indian themselves for getting the benefits from British rule. And liberal and neoliberal was like economic exploitation by the colonial, not beneficial for the people, and feminist approach for the women. Okay, now what are the Europeans and consolidation of British power in India? So advent of the Europeans in India, India on the eve of British contest. No, now expansion of consolidation of British power in India. So though we talk about ancient, medieval, and modern periods, history, continuity, it is always easy to distinguish clearly when one period and another begins. So if we think history of modern India and beginning with advent of Europeans, so 15th century itself. So we can discuss about the quest for the discovery of sea routes to India. So after decline of Roman Empire in 17th century, the Arabs established their domination in Egypt and Persia. And direct contact between the European and Indian declined, and with that, the easy accessibility to the Indian commodities like spices, calico, silk, various precious stone were greatly in demands and Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks who were on the ascendant. So, merchandise from India were to the European market through Arab Muslims and Red Sea trade routes was monopoly from Islamic ruler and the land routes to India were also controlled by the Arabs. So, in the circumstances, the Europeans were keen to find a direct sea route. So, 15th century Europe was gripped by the spirit of Renaissance with the coal exploitation. At the same time, Europe made great advances like shipbuilding, navigation, okay, and the economic development of many regions. Europe were also progressing rapidly. Expansion of land under cultivation, introduction of improved plus scientific crop management, crop rotation, increasing supply, meats, and demands for oriented luxury goods. Venice, Genoa, which has earlier proposed through trade oriented goods. Now major exploration was there. So Europe was like they were ready to aid Portugal, Spain with money and men. Genoese ready to provide ship technical knowledge also. So now historians have observed that idea of finding an ocean routes like to India had become the obsession for the Prince Henry of Portugal. So nickname was Navigator, and also he was keen to find a way to circumvent the Muslim domination of Eastern Mediterranean and routes connected to India and Europe. So Nicholas V gave Prince Henry to confirming him right to navigate sea to the distant shore of Orient. So here like under the Treaty of Tordesillas, the ruler of Portugal and Spain divided the known Christian world and some 1300 miles west Cape Verde Island, the Treaty of Portugal they did and Cape of Good Hope in Africa and sailed like they came through that Bartholomew Diaz was came through the Cape of Good Hope to the India and it was the only 10-year later expedition of Portuguese ship to the India. Now next was the Vasco di Gama. So the arrival of three ships of Vasco da Gama led to the Gujarati pilot named Abdul Majid. So Calicut 1498 profoundly affected the course of Indian history, and the Hindu ruler of Calicut, Jamorin, so had no apprehension but European intention, as the prosperity of kingdom was due to Calicut. Now, for the century trading system in India, Ocean has numerous participants: Indian, Arab, Africans, East Coast, Chinese, Javanese. So, overwhelming dominance through all over the world. They earned the profit. Now, Vasco da Gama stayed in India for 3 months, and there was a voyage was undertaken by the Pedro Alvarez Cabral to trade for spices. So it negotiated September, and there was an incident of conflict when Portuguese factory at Calicut was attacked. So resulting the death of several Portuguese, and it's a Arab merchant ship anchored in the harbor and killed 100 of their crews, besides the confiscating the cargo, burning ships. So here, like Vasco da Gama is generally regarded as beginning of new era in the world history, especially in the relationship between the Asia and Europe. So Asia and Europe had been in commercial relation with each other, and the opening of direct sea relation between the two was not only fulfillment of old dreams, but the Phoenician and rounded Africa. It presaged big increased trade between the two, and this, however, was only one objective of the Portuguese. So it's a Muslim, Arab, and Turks traditional enemy of Christianity, and growing military and naval powers. So it's a Arab and Turk over the trade in eastern goods. So exploration of Africa to link up with the kingdom of legendary, and it's like you can understand. Now after Vasco da Gama, there was a Francisco de Almeida. So he also came 1505. The king of Portugal appointed a governor in India. So Almeida was with sufficient force to protect Portuguese interests. Of Francisco de Almeida, the newly appointed government was asked to consolidate the position of Portuguese in India. So he was like says the Muslim trade, and he also advised build fortresses to Anjay, Diva, Cochin, Kannur, and Kilwa. So was Almeida, however, encountered along with the opposition of Jamorin. And now blue water policy was given by the Almeida. It's very important, blue water policy. And vision was making the Portuguese the master of Indian Ocean. Okay, so this was like he's like advanced the Portuguese in the Red Sea also. Now next was Alfonso di Albuquerque. He was Albuquerque who succeeded Almeida as a Portuguese governor in India. So real founder of Portuguese power in East, as Tasco completed his death. Now what was he did, but it's very important, like Gulf of Red Sea and region for the shipbuilding also helped to Portuguese objective of Albuquerque acquired Goa and Bijapur. Okay, and European he like conquered the European. So abolition of sati was also very important thing in that time, and he was like Portuguese men who had come to be voyage and stayed back India, where Albuquerque encouraged to local wives, like to marriages in the local. And in his time irrigation work, introducing new crop, tobacco, cassia, master craftsmen, like most Portuguese came to upon the settlement. Okay, Nino de Cunha was the assume officer governor Portuguese interested in India. So what was his like? He increased the Portuguese influence in Bengal by settling the Portuguese nationalists in Hooghly, and he was like secure help to the Portuguese in Basin also, and he was against the Bahadur Shah Jafar. Now the Kunha was like he increases the navigational power against the Chinese ship, and unity of the Portuguese. Now, Portuguese state was general tendency and underestimate Portuguese holes in India. So, Indian history, then it's Vasco da Gama arrival, and then 60 miles of Goa, they captured the Daman Deep, Gujarat, controlled the narrow important ports, and Mangalore, Kannur, Cochin, Calicut. Now, towards the end of 16th century, wealthy settlement of Hooghly and West Bengal also. And then like they wanted to defeat the Mughals and Marathas also, and Portuguese was first European to come to the India, and it was the 1961 government of India recaptured the Goa and the Mandiv. Portuguese administration was very good. Like there was a fortness and against the Africa and China under the factors boost power was increased and communication between. So like religious policy of Portuguese was very important, like marriages, intercaste marriages, and they promoted the zeal of Christianity, and they were blue water policy also they given. They established many churches in Goa also and nearby area. Okay, so Prince Salim on the ascending to the throne Jahangir. So Jesuit father, like they was Jesuit father also, and bringing Christian fold, like they wanted to improve the Christianity. Portuguese losses favor with the Mughals. So there was Captain William Hawkins with his ship Hector reached Surat. He brought with him letter from James I, King of England, to the Mughal court for Jahangir requesting permission to do the business. So after Hawkins from reaching to the Mughal court but did not succeeded. The Jahangir accepted the gift of Hawkins and gave Hawkins very favorable reception. After Hawkins, we can talk about the he was capable to agree please to the Jahangir. So 13,000 as a salary. Hawkins was also married to daughter of the Armenian Christian Mubarak Shah. Then it was great story. And after that, Hawkins left the Mughal court in 1611, unable to counter the Portuguese intrigue to the check the vacillating Mughal policies. Okay, then after then there was one more person came in the Mughal Darbar, and James Rowe, I think. So it's a conflict between the Mughal and Portuguese was increased. Now it's Mughal India to Christianity, how Portuguese held because of welcome accorded to the Akbar and Jahangir. So Portuguese was always respected by the Akbar and Jahangir. Now capture of Hooghly. So it was like Portuguese had settled down a river bank of Hooghly. So they captured that area and they monopolized the manufacturing of salt, built a custom house and started enforcing strict rules and regulation like duty on tobacco, and like they were cruel towards the trade of slave. Okay, and it's okay. Now decline of Portuguese, what the reason behind that? So you can give the reason because the Portuguese was because of only for the commercial influence. They were now robbery, piracy was the main reason. Then they were involved in the marriages with the Indians. Okay, so they was interfering the Indians internal matters, religion, caste, creed, and all that. And they were dishonest toward the trade policy, and there was a political fears from the Mughals. Okay, and there was Spain and Portugal was United Kingdom was attacking over there. There was war between them. So what the Portuguese rise and fall? We can give the reason: arrival of Vasco da Gama and grand reception and establishment of the first Portuguese fort, Cochin. It was Cochin, then Cananor, then Jamori accepted Alfonso Albuquerque, the Portuguese governor, and declaration of Goa as a Portuguese capital and subjugation of Diu, the Portuguese capture of Daman and loss of Surat, and the Dutch win whole Portuguese fort Malabar coast. Now, significance of Portuguese. Most historians have observed that the coming of the Portuguese not only initiated that might be called the European era, it marked emergence of naval power, and it was now for the first time foreign power had come to India the way of sea. Portuguese ship carried cannon. This was the first step gaining the monopoly over trade. Portuguese declared intention of abide not by rules but they getting decisive advantage over Indian and Ocean and trading system. Malabar of 16th century Portuguese showed the military innovation. Okay, Portuguese may have contributed to example of Mughal use field of gun, artillery, syrup, Important military contribution was also there, and they established like Spanish model. Now they were against the Maratha, Sikh, and French and English. Portuguese were the master of improved techniques to sea, so they given the blue water policy also, and to carry run their regular monsoon. Okay, Atlantic Ocean. So now launch bordering the ocean. Portuguese skill in organizing maintenance of regular system, pilots, mapping, and private merchant shipping. And Portuguese, but more certain hairs like knowledge were European, especially for Dutch and English. Now it's enough, I think. Now Dutch and English. So we will come directly to the English first, because we are like reading the things which are more important. Portuguese were the quite important now. English is the Frankish drag voyage around the 1580. Then it's 1519 Portuguese in East they came. Then 1600 Queen Elizabeth issued a charter with right of exclusive trading to the company named Governor and Company Merchant of London trading into the East Indies. Now progress was the Hawkins arrives to the Jahangir. Now he didn't succeeded, but after English had started trading Masulipatam, then 1616 Captain Thomas Best defeated the Portuguese in the Sea of Surat and impressed Jahangir granted permission to the English in the establish the factory to the Surat. So Thomas was the Sir Thomas Roe came to the accredited the ambassador to James I to court Jahangir and staying on the till 1619. Okay. Now the English company did not have smooth progress. It had to contend with the Portuguese and Dutch, but the changing situation helped them to turn things into the favor of Bombay. Now Charles II by the King of Portuguese Dowry. Now Bombay was given over to the East India Company annual payment, and now there was also an Anglo-Dutch compromise as mentioned earlier, by which Dutch agreed not to interfere with the English company. So Golden Farman issued by them Sultan of Golconda on the payment of 500 pagoda, and a member of Masulipatam Council and merchant like Francis Day rule of Chandragiri permission to build a fortified factory of Madras. Masulipatam is a headquarter of English settlement in South India, and English extended their trading activity to the east and started factory to the Harpur. Now the foothold in Bengal. Bengal was then a large and rich province in India and advanced in trade and commerce. So commercial and political control over Bengal naturally appeared as attractive proposition to profit seeking in English merchants. So Shah Suja, the Subedar of Bengal, allowed the English to trade in Bengal. He got the annual payment 3,000 in lieu of duty. So factories in Bengal were started and other places of Qasim Bazar, Patna, Rajmahal. Nevertheless, despite the privilege of Farman, the company business was now and then obstructed by custom officer and local checkposts who asked for the payment of toll. In pursuance of its changes policy, the company wanted to have a fortified settlement at Hooghly so that force could be used necessary. So William Hatch, the first agent of governor of company. Now, uh, hostility broke out between the English and Mughals, and retail capturing the imperial fort Thana. And now after Mughal raid the Hooghly job, Charnock, a company agent, started negotiation with Mughal and to return the place called Sutanuti. Charnock signed the Treaty of Mughal and returned to Sutanuti, and English factory was established on 10 and now issued permitting English to continue trade in the Bengal. Now Jamidar in Bardhaman district and Suba Singh in like Fort William was settlement was there, and Sultanadi Govindpur and Kali Kata was their owner in the English getting the permission to buy the Jamidari. Now Sir Charles Eyre as the first president of the English. Farrukhsiyar Farman was very important, so company was valuable privilege in the Bengal, Gujarat and Hyderabad. So Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar secured their famous Farman. So Bengal company import export were exempted and duty exceed 3,000 rupees settled earlier. Company was permitted issue dastak and passes and company was permitted to rent more lands to Calcutta, Hyderabad. The company retained its existing pay and Surat for annual payment 10,000 rupees. East India Company was exempted from levy and it was the decreed coin company minted Bombay currency throughout the Mughal Empire. What are the formative of East India Company? It was established 600, now 609 was the William Hopkins arrived 611. Now Mughal governor Surat trade 1613 is the established in Surat. Then 1615 son Thomas Roe came and he got the Farman from the Jahangir. 1616 his company established its first factory in South Masulipatam. And now 1667 is Aurangzeb gives the English into Farman. And 91 is the company gets the imperial order of continue their trade. And 1770 Mughal Emperor Farrukh Shah issued the Farman called the Magna Carta of the company and large number of compensation. Now merging of two English companies, like there was a two companies, so they both merged. Now we can discuss about that French, like French foundation of French and their like French was a wish to engage in the commerce of East since opening year of the 16th century. The appearance of the India coast was late. Now we can discuss about like first they came to the Pondicherry and it's a nerve center of French power in the India. So it was granted Francois Martin, director of Masulipatam, and settlement Pondicherry was founded 1674. So it's other parts of the India is particularly coastal region of Mahe, Karaikal, Balasore, Kasim Bazaar, important trading center. Now early setback of French was the Treaty of Ryswick. It was the Pondicherry and Dutch restored the Pondicherry to the French, and that was important treaty. Now we can discuss the reorganization of French company. So it was the Perpetual Company of Indies. Okay, now in Anglo-French struggle was there. So British and French came to India for trading purpose and ultimately drawn into political India. Both had vision for establishing political power. Anglo-French rivalry reflected the traditional rivalry and Australian War of Succession and ended the conclusion of 7-year war, especially in India, and rivalry in the form of three Karnataka War, and decided once for all that English and not French were become masters. Now political situation was uncertain and it was the Mysore, Cochin, Travancore on the Malabar coast and the east of small state Madura, Tanjore and Tiruchinappalli. The decline of Hyderabad, now Muslim expansion and the English adventure got plans of ready. So it was Maratha kingdom, Tanjore providing the Peshwa of Pune. First Karnataka war was the Anglo-French war and again and the immediate cause was the Australian War of Succession. So it was Admiral La Bourdonnais and like many person was there. The result was the Aix-la-Chapelle Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle and Australian War of Succession to the conclusion, and the French in like handed back to the English Madras, and the French in the turn got their territories in North America. Significance of this was there was a Battle of Saint Thome, and it was fought between the French force and the Anvarudil Karnataka, and English appealed for help and small French army under the Paradise defeated. Okay, and this was the eye opener for the Europeans. It revealed the small disciplined army could easily defeat much larger army. Okay, now second war was the background of second Karnataka was the duplex was there, who was successful led the French force in the first Karnataka war. Now French political influence southern India when interfering local dynasty of the defeating the English. It's provided death of Nizamul Mulk, founder of independent kingdom of Hyderabad, released the Chanda Sahib, son of Dost Ali, Nawab of Karnataka. So it was the to throne the Hyderabad opposed the Muzaffar Jang, grandson of Nawab, who claimed like Mughal emperor had appointed the governor of Karnataka. So now the French supported the claim of Muzaffar Jang and Chanda Sahib and Deccan and Karnataka respectively, while English sided the Nasir Jang and Anwaruddin. So course of war was what it's a Muzaffar Jang and Chanda Sahib and French defeated killed the Anwaruddin, and Battle of Ambur was the Vellore It was very important, and a French army was busy with station Hyderabad to secure French interests. Now, what is the end of this war? That is important. So, rise of fall and Dupleix is very important. Dupleix in an administration, Dupleix became the Governor General of Pondicherry. He found the Pondicherry facing several problems. Maratha invasion, famine, uncultivated land, chaotic condition, Karnataka. Apart from this direction of the company sought a drastic cut in expenditure of French East India Company. And Dupleix reduced the public expenditure despite opposition from council and balanced the income expenditure coupled with the cut on the salaries and decided disobey the direction of the matter of fortification settlement. He enhanced the defense of Pondicherry, even spending a large sum from the personal wealth. Okay, Dupleix for taking the right decision, even the contradiction. So Dupleix is a master of diplomacy because analysis the first two Karnataka wars. His diplomacy was visualized the path of European conquest in the India. Dupleix used to Nawab Karnataka forbid the English from the waging the war, and French settlement at Pondicherry could be protected till the French force acquired the strength. Okay, so Dupleix using the diplomacy given Maratha to the Nawab and even defeated the Saint Tome. Dupleix convinced the Admiral La Bourdon to break the promises of English, and he said that since position of Governor General was superior to that commander navy, and thus we was able to convince the subordinate to do that considered unethical. Dupleix was the first European to interfere in internal politics of Indian ruler Muzaffar Jung, Hyderabad and Chanda Sahib. And Dupleix was the practice of subsidiary alliance French army Hyderabad. Dupleix fall in India because of Dupleix suffered from the over sanguine temperament. The peer of Dupleix didn't like his autocratic behavior. Dupleix was not man of action. He planned the campaign directed with the lieutenant but never led to the army battlefield, and he failed to capture the Trichinopoli, and Dupleix could not be turned into action by his commanders. This was the problem. What was the result? Like result was the Dupleix policy decided to recall the Godehu. Now Godehu policy was negotiation of English to conclude a treaty with the French agreed not to interfere the matters of the English. Now there was also a treaty. Its implication was become evident for like European success in authority and Muhammad Ali Karnataka war. Like it's okay. The third Karnataka war was in Europe when Austria wanted to recover and Silesia. So 7 year war started. Britain and France were once again opposite sides. So course of war in India was the French army under the Count de Lally and English David and Vijay Vijayanaгаram. So it's become the offensive and inflicted heavy losses on the French. Okay, now result the third Karnataka war provided decisive treaty of peace of Paris resorted to the French their factory in India and the French political influence disappearance afterward. Thereafter the French like their Portuguese and Dutch counterpart in India and English become the supreme European power in an Indian subcontinent. So, Battle of Plassey, usually regarded by the historian the decisive event about the ultimate British rule over the India, and we cannot ignore view true turning point for the control of subcontinent. Victory of British. So it's a Vandivash was the victory of Vandivash, like English East India Company with a no European rival in India. So significantly in Battle of Vandivash, natives served in both the army and sepoy. So now it's clear like who will rule to the India. So there was a lack of sensitivity to geopolitics and lack of foresight to native ruler. Now cause of English success and French failure, the English navy was superior to the French navy. It helped cut off the vital sea links. Okay, and the French possession in India. So the English held three important places like namely Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, and French only Pondicherry. The French subordinate their commercial interest to the territorial ambitions and company short of funds, and the British never neglected the commercial interest and they have the funds consequent sound financial condition A major factor was English in the India was the superiority of commanders. And English sides Howard Coote and Stindiat Lawrence and Robert Clive and Dupleix was there. About the goods and trades and initially, there are account for the various European traveller and trader about activity in port towns such as Surat, which give detail of its Steve's creation of fabric collective called India. So the great demand was cotton, goldsmith, like Selampore and other like desired fabric were to be painted, clothes and prints. Europe, but also part of Asia. India traded textile century before European arrived. Indonesia archipelago. India cotton was popular, like it's lightweight and good quality also. Not only for the country but for the transport of Malacca, Java, and traded many spices also. Like French had colored pattern and okay, and it's all right. Now the factory of all the European trading groups were to be found in practically the same place, a peak of Indian trade demands for Indian goods and supply by weavers and other artisans. And Dutch and English and the French grew more competitive. Okay, and now this commercial stronghold turned into the political enclave, ultimately enabling English to expand, consolidate their power control over the India. So this was the reason was there. Now the last was the Dane. Dane was came to the Tanjore and settlement was Sirampur and Calcutta. And Danish factory were not imported, but British government, the Danes better known for missionary activities. Now, why the English succeeded against other European powers? So, see, structure and nature of the trading companies. East India Company was the amalgamation of several rival companies. So that stakeholder of the shareholder of the company was like purchase of shares, and Portuguese and France was not largely that much strong. They was feudalistic in character, but English was quite united in their character, and they took little interest like in the company share and all that, but English was quite more interest. Now naval superiority also very important, like Royal Navy largest, it was the most advanced, and victory against the Spanish Almeida and French, it was like Vandivash, battle of Vandivash, very important movement of naval ship. Okay, English was important in the an efficient navy and improved their fleet technology. Industrial revolution was very important, like the spinning jenny, steam engine, power loom, several others. These machines greatly improved the production of field of textile, steam power, and agriculture. And military skill was the British soldier were a disciplined lot and were trained. The British commander were strategy who tried to new tactics in warfare. Technological development were there. Stable government, even like British have the stable government, efficient monarch. And afterward, war Napoleon defeated significantly, like France, Dutch, and Spain were also involved, but the Dutch East India Company affected by bankruptcy. Lesser zeal of religion, like British were less jealous about religion, interested in spreading the Christianity. Spain and Portugal, Dutch, thus rule was more acceptable. Use of debt market, even innovative reason of British, because they were like to giving the debt to the Indian people, and they established the sale government debt to the money market and promised to the decent return to the British, defeating rival country like France and Spain. That was also the great reason. So under the Napoleon Bonaparte, France simply went bankrupt with the outdated way of raising money. Okay, that was the also reason. Now what are the summary of this, like split of Renaissance? Now European economy was leading to prosperity, demands for luxury good, then capture of the Constantinople and Syria, Egypt, later Ottoman Turks calling for new routes to reach India without dealing with Arabs and Turks. Venice and Genoa too small to stand up. Now the Portuguese pioneer followed the Dutch, English, then French respectively. Portuguese was the Francisco de Almeida blue water policy, Alfonso de Albuquerque. India banned the practice of sati. Albuquerque was there. and Krishnadev Rai was the leader. And the Kunha was the he Diwan, Daman, and Div and Gujarat. Bahadur Shah Zafar was there. Factor of decline of Portuguese in India was actually rise of English. Corruption, trade practice was not good. Diversion of Portuguese colonizing the ambitious toward the west, and emergence of powerful dynasty of Egypt, Persia, and Maratha. Now Dutch. Dutch was the United East India Company of the Netherlands, formed the Dutch. So Dutch factory established to the Masulipatam, Pulicat, Surat, Karaikal, and Kasim Bazar, and Patna, Balasore. Decline. Dutch was Anglo-Dutch rivalry was there. Battle of Bidara. English defeated the Dutch. Factors for the foundation: drag wise roundward, an English victory over the mighty Spanish Armada, leading to the great ambition. The English East India Company formed the Queen Elizabeth, which gave the company monopoly to the trade to the East India Company. Now, what was the settlement? Captain Thomas Roe came first. English established their first factory to the Surat. Subsequently, Thomas Roe second permission from the Jahangir. Now, Bombay came to the control over the company. Charles II was the leasing it out to the English, and now Masulipatam was the English headquarter. And when the former was given to the Chandragiri city of Calcutta, grew the development of three villages Sutatani, Govindpur, and Kalikata, the fortified settlement of Fort William, and it's become the British power. Farooq Shiar Farman was there, and East India Company gave the significant privilege to the company Bengal, Gujarat, and Hyderabad. Merger of company association, later called the Asada Company. Sir William Corteen was the license to trade for the Charles I. Now it's a rivalry between the old and new company, so it's a united company of merchant of England trading to the East Indies. Foundation of Colbert Ministry and settlement of India, like it's a Masulipatam factory. Now it's a Anglo-French rivalry was there. Cause was protection of expansion of commercial interests, political development of Europe, provided pretext of context which culminated three Karnataka War. First Karnataka War was Anglo-French rivalry Aix-la-Chapelle. Second Karnataka was inconclusive. It undermined the French power. And Karnataka War was third was known for the Battle of Vandivash, and the Treaty of Paris. Two French were allowed to use the Indian settlement for the commercial purpose only. Fortification of settlement banned, and the cause of French failure was involvement in Europe, ill management of policy, lack of commercial incentive to the French, and sound commercial base of English, and inadequate military and financial support. So this will be discussed about the modern India.